You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women, whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. I'm excited about this episode today because I rarely talk about the topic that we're going to be talking about today, which is touching. I rarely talk about it for a few reasons. One, it's not very easy to talk about in terms of an audio, right? Like where this is on a podcast, it's a lot easier if I can show you. That's why I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel that show different touching techniques. So it's a little bit more challenging. And plus, of course, the podcast is called How to Talk to Girls, not How to Touch Girls. But either way, we do know already on this podcast that we talk way more about just talking to girls. We talk about everything with dating and sex and relationships. But either way, it's a little bit more difficult to teach touching. But I have done it before. And in fact, I did it before when I had an old program called How to Attract Your Perfect 10. And How to Attract Your Perfect 10 was an old program that no longer exists, but now exists in the form of a new program, which is new and improved and much better, called Hooked, which you can check out at getherhooked.com. It's a 10-hour course that teaches you everything from meeting women to attracting women to understanding attraction to dating women to getting into a relationship and dealing with everything in between, right? So I have a whole formula and system that I talk about that I've developed over the years that I didn't have in How to Attract Your Perfect 10, the old program, but the new program, this new system is inside of it. And so I have to say for this episode, we're talking about touching, which I don't talk too much about in Hooked. And the reason why is because touching is important, but it's not everything, right? It's like, I'm going to teach you a lot of stuff today on this episode about touching so you can have it, right? So you can have it. It's not bad to have some touching techniques to know in terms of how to escalate physically with a woman. It's not bad information. I just don't want guys to rely too much on figuring out all these escalation moves. Again, I'm still giving it to you here today, but I don't want you to rely on it heavily because what's most important is really just building tension and sexual tension. And you can do that without having to touch a woman. And so all it takes is a lot of dominance and leading and moving forward. Again, that's stuff I talk about in the Hooked program, which you can check out at getherhooked.com. The link for that is in the show notes. But for now, this episode is pretty cool because I still talk about some touching techniques that you can just use here and there when you want to, when to throw it in, when you want to just get things to be a little bit more physical. And on this episode, we're really going deep into it. I'm going to be teaching you the rules of touching. I'm going to be teaching you a little bit about calibration. You'll see what that is towards the end. Some body language for seduction. So it's a little bit of touching, a little bit of more seduction stuff that I need you to know in terms of, how to move the interaction forward. I call that dominance now, by the way. Dominance is my new term for moving the interaction forward, which you're going to learn here towards the end of the episode as well. So a lot of good nuggets here, a lot of good stuff, and you're going to want to take notes. This is, again, another note-taking episode because it's just rich, and I love it. I mean, listen, all the episodes are pretty much note-taking episodes, but a lot of more techniques in here, and you're not going to want to miss it. So I think you're going to like it. I'm having fun going back into the archives, and I found this stuff recently, and I love sharing it with you and getting it out there and having you learn this stuff because it's just kind of sitting there. And of course, there's some stuff, I edited it. Like I went through all these episodes that I've been releasing from the archives, and I'm taking out stuff that I don't think is going to help you anymore and making sure that I'm giving you only the best information that I think is going to really be most beneficial in terms of you getting your results, So we're going to be going into a lot of good stuff today that is well filtered. So make sure that you get something ready to take your notes. Don't forget that coaching, if you need coaching and you feel like this is still really challenging for you, like talking to girls, any kind of escalation technique, being dominant and moving the interaction forward. Like if this is difficult for you, or you feel like you're not getting results on your own, or you feel like it's moving too slow, which I totally get, right? It's totally frustrating when you're trying to do this and it's just not going anywhere. Like, oh, what are you supposed to do? So let me help you through the coaching process. The typical package that I offer is you and I working on the phone together. So you can live anywhere in the world. I work with people in Australia and Europe and the UK, South America, all over North America. And we can hop on weekly calls where I instruct you and tell you exactly what to do and give you the tailored advice that you need to get results with women in dating. So that means that you are going to have exactly what you need and the exact structure and game plan to go out and meet women and attract them based on who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And you can be all the way in beginner mode. So even if you're like, I don't even talk to girls ever, I've never been on a date, anywhere, where you are just a super beginner, we can still help you. We do weekly calls. I offer unlimited texting. You're going to get access to all my programs, including the Hooked program, which I've been talking about today. So apply. Go to coachedbytrip.com. Don't wait any longer. There is a waiting list. So when we sign you up, it's going to be a few weeks till we start. But if you apply today, you and I can hop on a phone call and make sure that coaching is going to be a good fit for you. So go to coachedbytrip.com and you and I will discuss it. For now, here is the episode about escalation, touching. You're going to like it. Enjoy. Welcome to Module 8 in How to Attract Your Perfect 10. And in this module, we're going to be going over touching. So this is sort of a continuation of Module 7, where we talked about flirting, seduction, desire, and attraction. And in this module, we're going to continue that with talking about how to flirt and seduce via physical touch. And this is something that you're going to be implementing while you are talking to a girl, while you are flirting with her. So you're also going to be what's called peppering in some of the touches as you have a conversation with a girl. Now, at this point, you've hopefully had multiple conversations. We've done at the least 20 to 30 approaches if you've done your homework. And there's going to be some more homework again at the end of this one. And let's get into teaching you how to touch girls. So we're talking about touching here. So there are some rules of touching. So before you start doing any sort of physical escalation, you got to know the rules, because if you don't, then you're going to cause the girl not to be attracted to you. So in the rules of touching, you got to make sure that the touches that you do are soft and gentle. Now, at the same time, women do want a dominant man, and they like to be, tossed around in bed and have very intense sexual relationships in the bedroom. Women are attracted to, or turned on, I should say, when a man kind of tugs on her hair in the bedroom and things like that. But right now, we're not talking about bedroom play. We're talking about how to touch her when you meet her for the first time, and before you get on a date with her. This is in the first interaction, whether you're meeting her during the day, whether you're meeting her in a social approach, whatever it is. It has to be soft and gentle. The reason why is because if you're too forceful, it actually doesn't turn her on, okay? She's not going to think that the forceful touch is anything dominant or sexual. It's going to be more friendship-like. Soft and gentle is more seductive when you first meet her, because it's a little bit more mysterious and it feels very pleasurable to be kind of touched softer. So I want you to be very soft and gentle when you do the touching moves that I'll be teaching you here. Now, when you make a physical advance and you touch her, it's very important that you don't make the touch the focus, okay? Don't make touching the focus. You want to prevent the awkwardness. So let me explain. If you go and you touch a girl, let's say on the shoulder or maybe on the elbow, while you're talking to her, and you focus on your touching. So like you're very stiff and you're looking at your hand while you're touching her and you're kind of focusing on the touch. That's going to be very awkward. She's not going to think that you're comfortable with women. She's going to think that, you're being kind of strange when you're trying to touch her. She's going to be a little bit turned off. So it's very important that when you touch a woman, you do it very subtly and you do it smooth within the interaction. You just kind of got to do it without thinking about it too much, okay? And again, it's okay in the beginning if you focus on it a little bit because you're just starting off, but you want to get to the point where it's not the focus and you're doing it comfortably and smoothly. I also don't want you to do this. I don't want you to do the same move over and over. So I'm going to teach you a bunch of moves, and you don't want to just constantly be doing the same move. For example, you don't want to be constantly giving her a high five. You don't want to be constantly touching her elbow. You want to mix it up. You want to mix and match. You want to do all different kinds of things. It's okay if you do the same move like a couple of times. That's no problem. 3 times max. But I really don't want you to do the same move, or else it's just going to, again, be kind of awkward. So as you can see, with the rules of touching, I'm doing everything in my power to teach you and show you that if you get it wrong, it's going to be awkward. Okay, so we want to prevent that. Next, I want to show you the seductive handshake. And the seductive handshake is killer when you're first starting off meeting a woman and seducing her. Okay, and with this seductive handshake, it's very powerful. So I want to teach you the exact steps on what to do here. Seductive handshake is something I teach my students in person, and also something I've used over the years that has really helped kind of start the seduction process when you first meet a girl. And it's really important that you do something like this so you can right off the bat get her feeling that you're flirting with her a little bit. Okay, so you don't enter the friend zone. Now, with a seductive handshake, I want you to make sure that for the first step, what you do is you grab her hand softly, okay? And you want the thumb between the knuckles. So right now you see this guy's thumb on the right. He's kind of going like right between the knuckles on the fingers, okay? So you see the knuckle closest to her wrist, and then the next knuckle. Right in there is where you're going to put your thumb, okay? That is, or AKA basically, it's the girl handshake. When you shake a girl's hand, you don't connect at that part between your pointer finger and your thumb. That's like a normal handshake. Instead, you want to do a little softer where you kind of just are lightly grabbing her hand, okay? And so you want to start the seductive handshake off whenever you introduce yourself, whenever you meet the girl, So if I were you, I would introduce yourself maybe about 5 minutes in, unless they decide to do it first. Okay, so about 5 minutes in a conversation, you say, oh, I never even got your name. What was your name? And then you go and reach out your hand, and she'll reach out hers, and you do step number 1. Now watch how it gets seductive here. You're going to make eye contact, meaning you're not going to be focusing and looking at your hand. You're going to be looking at her the entire time. Make sure you're looking at her right in the eyes. You're going to shake your hand lightly. If at all, you're barely going to even shake. You're just going to softly grab it. And then here's where the seductive part comes in. You're going to hold and continue to hold her hand while you ask her name or repeat her name. So if you didn't get her name, you're going to say, your name is, or what was your name? And then she'll say Jessica, for example, and you'll repeat the name and continue to hold her hand and look in her eyes. So you'll hold her hand, look in her eyes, and say, okay, cool, Jessica, nice to meet you. You'll say that softly, slowly, continue to look in her eyes, continue to hold her hand, and then you release, okay? So you're going to hold the eye contact for just a second longer than normal handshakes, okay? Just so you start to create that tension. Can you feel it already? You might be able to feel it right now, just imagining doing a handshake like this. You're creating tension. You're going to kind of smile at her and say, oh, okay, cool. What was your name? Jessica. Repeat her name. All right, Jessica, nice to meet you. Okay, that is a seductive handshake. And then you slip your hand away softly. So step 6 is you literally just glide, like imagine like you're just kind of like rubbing her hand, just kind of slip your hand away softly. Don't just like whip your hand off of hers, slide it away softly. That is the seductive handshake. I'll go over it one more time really quickly. Grab her hand between the knuckle, grab it softly, make eye contact, hold eye contact, shake hand lightly, ask her name. What was your name again? Oh, Jessica, cool. All right, Jessica, nice to meet you. Hold eye contact, hold it for just a second longer, and then slip your hand away. Let's get into the fun stuff now. Okay. There's a few different phases of touching, right? which means that you're going to be going from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3, 4, 5, etc. And you're going to go through the phases, which is going to help you properly escalate touching her. Okay, so it's going to help you properly escalate touching her, so you don't, you're not going to, obviously, you can't jump into just making out with her within a couple minutes. Yes, it has happened before. Guys have done it. It's possible. But we're talking in a high energy environment where the girl's probably drunk. Very rare does that happen. And even when that happens, that very rarely means that she's actually attracted to you. She's just kind of having fun in the moment. So it's always ideal that you go through these touching maneuvers first in the phase 1, and then move your way up from phase 2, etc. Okay, so there's the side hug. Side hug is a great one. This is something you can do in the beginning. So maybe you're saying some sort of compliment, saying like, oh, wow, you're awesome. You're so cool. You're so confident, something like that. And you'll kind of give her a side hug where you're just going to put your arm around her. You're going to put your arm around her, and you're going to be on the side of her. And then you kind of put your hand over her shoulder, right below it, and give her kind of a side hug, like you would a buddy, okay? Now, of course, this is a buddy type move, but this is just the beginning. You're just kind of getting her used to your touch, used to getting touched by you. That's why you want to start off kind of small with some of these buddy ones, right? That's why we do something like the high five, because the high five is very similar in that aspect, where it's something you do with your buddy, but it's definitely a good way to just get her or the group of girls touching and get it going, so they understand, okay, this guy is, touchy-feely. They won't be saying that, but they're going to subconsciously be kind of feeling that. And you want to get them comfortable with these small moves before you move on, okay? So you can do a high five. Best way to do a high five is to kind of put your hand up in the air and let her give you a high five. And then you kind of hold her hand for a second. And then just like the seductive handshake, what you're going to do is just kind of bring her hand down and then slip your hand away. It's a very sensual high five. Then there's the full hug, right? Just giving her a big hug. And the best way to do this is to wrap your arms around her very tight so she gets in very close with your body. Don't give her like an awkward hug where there's like a distance between you and her body. Give her a hug where your bodies are touching, where her boobs are touching your chest, okay? So that's what you want to do when you give her a full hug. And again, you can say that, you can do that anytime within the first couple of minutes. If she says something cool, bring her in for a hug. You can go from high five to side hug to full hug within about, 5 to 6 minutes. And this is going to be very flirty and fun. Okay, so the age guesser, okay, also known as what I call the hand tickle. So what you do is you kind of grab her hands, and then what you're going to want to do is kind of bring her hands up, and you're going to turn her palm over, so her palm is in front of you, and you're going to kind of tickle her hand a little bit so it feels really funny and nice. And you're looking at her palm to guess her age. So the way that you'll kind of use this in conversation, where she might ask you your age or you might ask her. So if she asks, then you tell her, or maybe you'll say guess, and she'll guess. And then you say, let me guess. And then you kind of grab her hand. Or you'll say to her, how old are you? Wait, hold on, let me guess. Then you grab her hand, or you say, give me your hand. And then you take her hand, take her palm, tickle her palm a little bit, and you look at her palm, and then you kind of just rub it, and then you guess her age, and then guess lower. If she looks 30, guess that she's 23. If she looks 40, guess that she's 30, things like that. So anything lower is going to help gain attraction, okay? Girls obviously don't want to grow old. They want to be young, so guess young. Okay, let's move over to phase 2. In phase 2, okay, the hand tickle, which I already told you about, it's the same thing as the age guesser. They're kind of the same thing. You can move them. You can move it around. You can do that in phase 1 or phase 2. In phase 2, again, we're just going to escalate a little bit further. The lower back lead, I love this one. When you guys start getting more in conversation, maybe you end up moving to another part of, the bar, or maybe another part of the sidewalk. You kind of put your hand on her lower back and lead her to the destination. Don't hold it there for too long unless it seems like she's very attracted and very comfortable with you, but you kind of just put your hand on her back and lead her along, okay? Hip holding or double hip holding. Okay, so these are two different ones. You can hold one of her hip with your hand and kind of just put your hand there, or you can take both your hands. Now, I would start off with an initial hip holding with one hip. So anytime you say anything in conversation that's, again, making a point or you're giving her a compliment, just kind of lightly put your hand on her hip. Okay. Now, if you're saying something a little bit more deeper intent, telling her she's sexy, she's beautiful, something like that, you'll take both of your hands, put it on her hips, maybe even like pull her forward towards you. That's going to be very sexual. Okay. Double hand holding. Okay. So now we're even moving up further. So double hand holding is going to be you grabbing her hands and talking about, maybe a crazy story. You're going to be like, kind of holding her hands like, okay, listen, you have to hear this story. This story is amazing. And you say that while you hold both of her hands. And then you let go. Okay, don't hold them for too long. It's just you're going to grab her hands at the same time with both of your hands. Okay, phase 3. Phase 3, we're moving right along and we're going to up it a little bit. So at this point, hopefully you've done most of the moves in phase 1 or phase 2. Again, you don't have to do all of these moves, but at least a few of them in every single phase is going to help escalate to the point where she's comfortable with you physically. So in phase 3, this is when you guys are in your own bubble. You're being more seductive, telling more stories, talking to her, having fun, you're teasing her. She's shown all the signs of attraction, which again, I know we haven't gone over completely, but we will very soon. Okay, and at that point, you put your arms around her waist. So now it's kind of like the double hip hold, but instead you're going to connect your hands around her and put your hands all the way around her waist. The hair tug, right? So that's a very sensual move. So if you guys are getting closer, you can tell her that she smells amazing, and you just grab your hand and put it through the back of her hair, through her scalp, and just kind of lightly, very lightly tug her hair and smell her neck. Thumb to cheek. So this is when, before a kiss, you're going to put your hand on her face, on her cheek, and the thumb will go to the right or left, right on her cheek. Very sensual. Okay, and the lower back press. So this is one where you're holding her and you're pressing her lower back into you, almost as if you're shoving her like butt and her waist into your waist. So your genitals are like lining up. This is one that you'll do probably when, you're kissing her or you're holding her tight. You're just pressing her lower back into you. Okay. So I just want to give you an escalation example. So I just want to, go more specific and start tying all this stuff more together. This is what one escalation example might look like. Again, this is happening throughout the conversation as you guys are having it. You'll do a high five into an elbow touch, and maybe you'll do a side hug. Then you'll touch her hand, do the palm, kind of age guessing, then into double hand holding, then into your arms around her waist, and then into a kiss. Okay, so that's what an escalation example will look like. It kind of starts off small and gets more intense. So you see how that works? That's what I want you to do the next time you're in an interaction with a girl. Start moving up the ladder. Okay, so body language for seduction. More about your body language, what you're going to be like. super relaxed. Jello, I call it. Imagine that your body is just jello. It's just so relaxed. You can just move like you're moving through jello, right? Imagine if your whole body was actually moving through jello. It kind of just smoothly go through it as you're walking. That's how I want you to move. That's what body language in seduction mode is like. It's just very slow and it's very smooth. It's not very choppy and robotic like. Okay? In seduction, when you're talking to her, at the point where you guys have gotten to know each other, maybe you've isolated her, you guys have been talking for, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 minutes. Okay, it's been a long time. When you're listening to her, when she's talking to you and you're close to her and your body distance is close, I want you to smile at her. You can even do some grinning and smirking where you're just kind of looking at her with this seductive gaze, where you're just kind of, softly smiling at them, smirking at them. You just have a light smile on your face as you give her really great eye contact. I want you to nod, okay? Nod and when she's talking, not a lot, but just a little bit so she understands that you're listening to her, that every word that she's saying is important to you. Remember I talked about desire. She wants to feel loved and desired. That's how you're going to make her feel that way, when you're just kind of slowly nodding at everything she's saying and you're smiling at her and nodding. And you're close to her. Seductive body language and deep eye contact, like you're looking through to her soul, like you're looking through her eyes. So just imagine you two are leaning against the bar. You're about 3 inches away and you're looking at her deep in her eyes, smiling, slowly nodding, and every move you make is jello, super relaxed. Can you see how seductive that is? She's going to feel that. She's going to feel that like it's tangible energy, because that's what you're creating, this seductive atmosphere for the woman. Now let's talk about basically how you're going to know whether or not to push it further. So I know at this point you're probably like, okay, how am I going to know when to take it to phase 2, phase 3? How am I going to know to give her more compliments? How am I going to know to take all this from level 1 to level 3 to level 7, right? How are you going to do it? Well, it's called calibration, also known as adaptation. It's about adapting to what's happening in the interaction. This might be one of the most crucial parts of this entire program. Listen up, do not skip this. I mean, you shouldn't skip anything in this program because it all works together, but especially now, listen up, because if you're a master at adapting to any interaction and calibrating, you are going to be a master at attracting women. Because the better you can read where she's at, the better you're going to know whether you need to touch her more, touch her less, converse with her more, tell more interesting stories, get on a deeper level, talk to her friends a little more because maybe her friends are not having a good time. Maybe she's not giving you great eye contact. Maybe she's bored. You got to be able to read all this stuff because that's going to give you the sign of where to take the interaction, which you kind of already know at this point. So what is calibration? It's going with the flow of the interaction. That's all it is. It's going with the ebb and flow of the interaction. You're just going along, figuring out kind of where she's at, reading her a little bit. This is more advanced stuff, but after enough approaches, you're going to be able to get to this point no problem. Okay? And you got to know, like I said, if she likes you or dislikes you. Where is she? Does she like you or not? If she's liking you, push further, more flirting, more seduction. If she dislikes you, take it back a notch. Get to know her more. She's not comfortable with you yet. How do you get her more comfortable with you? Easy. Tell more stories. Be more vulnerable. Get on a deeper level with her. And the idea is this. You got to be in control the whole way through. Not only is it crucial to your success, it's crucial to the idea of her being attracted to you. she's not going to move the interaction along. If she does, that's a plus and great, and you just go along with it. If she's touching you more, great, just go along with it. Just, push it further and further as she pushes it. But most likely she's not going to do that. She's waiting for you to do that. So you got to be in control, leading the interaction, going through the flow of it, feeling where it's at, if she's interested, if she's not interested. So the signs of interested, the signs that she likes you. There's a bunch of them. Okay, here they are. She's touching you in any way. In any way, she's touching you. She's moving closer to you. She's touching you. She's facing you. That means that she's like mirroring you, right? So if she's facing you or she moves to face you, which happens, that means that she wants to be more in contact with you and she wants to have more conversation with you. So make that happen. If she's giving you eye contact and or smiling, those are signs of interest. Okay? She's giving you good eye contact. That means she's listening. She's hearing your words. She's smiling at what you're saying. She's introducing you to her friends. She might be like introducing you to the people that are around her that maybe just came into the interaction. If she introduces you to anyone, that's a sign she likes you. Here's a big one. I want you to pay attention to this, especially in a casual approach. Because in a casual approach, it's less likely they're going to ask you a personal question because you're a stranger during the day. They're not expecting to have a conversation with you. So you got to look out for if she's asking you personal questions. And that doesn't mean like personal questions like, how close are you with your mom or, something like that. But if she asks your age, your job, where you live, any kind of question that's just personal on any level, that's a big sign of interest. Laughing at your jokes. That's a huge sign too. Look for that. She's going to laugh at your teases. She's going to laugh at any kind of jokes you make or any kind of stories you tell. If she's laughing, boom, sign of interest. Here's more. She's coming up to talk to you again. Right? So say you guys, for whatever reason, leave each other in the interaction. One of you has to go to the bathroom. If she comes up to you again, big sign. That means you're ready for the big push to be more physical and more flirty with her if she finds you again. Maybe she wants to leave the interaction to go somewhere, but she's like, hey, come with me. Like, hey, I have to go to the bathroom, come with me. Or, hey, I have to go find my friend, come with me. Or, hey, I got to go, continue shopping, but walk with me. If she says that or asks you to go with her, sign of interest. If she seeds hangout ideas, this means that you're doing it right. This means that it's in the bag. And it's going to be easy from here on out. If she seeds a hangout idea, right? So that means that she's coming up with ideas for you guys to hang out. If she's like, oh, we should do this. Or she's like, oh, you've never played volleyball in Hermosa Beach before? We got to do that together, right? So if she's starting to talk about you guys hanging out, you're in. Big sign of interest. Okay, here are the signs that she's not interested, that she's disinterested in you, and you got to look out for these because this is going to help you know whether or not you're doing the right things in the interaction, okay? Maybe she has a boyfriend, maybe she's married, which you should look for the ring, but she'll show these signs of disinterest. She's not letting you touch her, right? So that means that when you do touch her or you try to give her a high five, she kind of like moves away. Or she doesn't want to give you a handshake, that she doesn't want to give you a high five. That means she's not interested yet. Something's going on. If she looks like she's not comfortable talking to you, like even after the first 5 minutes, now again, sometimes she's not going to get there right away. You might start talking to a girl and she's not going to be comfortable in the first 5 minutes. That's okay. Right? These signs of disinterest doesn't mean that you walk away. You just got to calibrate. You got to start to tell more stories or start to back off a little bit in terms of touching. Maybe even say something nice. A nice compliment could help with this, okay? But after 5 minutes, if she's still uncomfortable, at 10 minutes if she's still uncomfortable, it's a big sign of disinterest. That means she's like not having a good time talking to you. If she's looking away, she's not turning toward you, right? So she won't face you. Even though she's not facing you, you should be trying to face her. You should be the one getting face to face with her and mirroring her. But if she still kind of like continues to turn away, even like while you still are trying to face her, or she's looking away, not paying attention to you, not giving you eye contact, she's not interested yet. She's giving her friends strange looks. Look for this one. Sometimes like you'll go up to her and she'll give her friends strange looks like, who is this guy talking to me? Or what is he talking about? That means that you haven't attracted her. That means you're saying something weird. You're telling a wrong story. This just means that you're not doing something right. She's giving her friends strange looks. She isn't smiling much. Okay, so if she doesn't like smile at all, that's going to be a problem. She's not having a good time. Got to get her to at least smile once. Okay? If she doesn't ask you a single question, this is a big one. If you're interview mode or telling stories, you've been talking to her for 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and she hasn't asked you anything yet, even though she's still talking to you, she's not 100% interested. You got to get to the point where she's asking you a question. Okay. So like I said, control and leading, you got to lead the interaction. It's your job to push the interaction all the way to the seduction part. So now we're kind of zooming out here on a broader macroscopic level to help you understand what a whole interaction looks like in terms of you leading it. Like what's the parts? You're going to give her your opener. You know an opener. You know a lot of openers. Then you're going to kind of get to know them a little bit, get to know her. Start talking about some random topics. Be careful of saying, what do you do? Where are you from? But just, get to know her on just any other basic level. Talking to her about, her favorites, tastes and stuff, whatever it is. Then you're going to throw in some flirting, see where she's at. Some light flirting, some, level 1 type flirting. Then you'll throw in some comfort, right? Which means like just kind of get to know her a little bit more. At this point, maybe you're going to ask her what her passions are, what she does for a living. Okay, then you're going to flirt a little bit more, but with touching, flirting type touching. That's when you're going to start to touch her a little bit more. And then you're going to go into deep comfort where you're going to ask her more about her, getting to know her on a more vulnerable level. And you're going to be more vulnerable, telling your fun, interesting stories. And then you're going to be into seduction mode, which is what we're talking about here. More touching, more flirting, more intentions, stating your intentions. Okay? Your job to push interaction all the way to the seduction mode. Okay, you need to push it there. You need to get it to that point. That's your job. That's the goal. And then, of course, in order to get to that point, like I said, you're adapting / calibrating the whole way through. And you're going to dance along to the point of seduction, right? The dance I was talking about, the pushing and the pulling, the teasing, the calibration. Where is she at? Throw in some touching, throw in some flirts, throw in some compliments, see where she's at, and then get to the point of this seduction mode where you have her and you're holding her and your arms are around her. Okay? You can go in for a kiss at this point. When it comes to seduction, in terms of a casual approach, in terms of remaining in control and leading the interaction to the seduction part where you're getting more physical with her and you are being more, showing your intentions more in a casual approach, at least 15 minutes to get to that point. She's not going to be comfortable with you for at least 15 minutes. But there's an asterisk there because you won't always get to an intense seductive state. That's not always going to happen in a casual approach because a casual approach, she's in the grocery store, you're out during the day, it's a sidewalk, you're at the beach. It's not always going to get there. That's okay. Don't necessarily try to push it to a super intense seductive state in a casual approach. If you kind of see it happening and you can calibrate to that point, great. If not, that's okay. Casual usually just leads to you giving her, getting her number and then, giving her a hug. Okay. But it's different with the social approach. Okay. There's an asterisk here too. So with this and the social approach, between 20 and 45 minutes, you can get to a very super seductive state. Okay. And in order to get to that point, or I should say when you do get to that point, that's when you're going to do the big push. Remember the big push? Because at this point, you're going to do the big push when she has shown you signs that she's interested. Okay? Again, just to remind you, once she's attracted, flirt more frequently, more flirting, more touchy when she's more receptive. Draw closer to her and give her intense eye contact. That's the transition from a kind of attraction state where she's interested in you to a more seductive state. Okay, you're going to flirt more frequently. You're going to be more touchy, only if she's more receptive. And then you're going to draw closer to her, body distance, and give intense eye contact. See how this is all coming together now? Okay, homework number 8. 15 approaches. We're going to focus and zoom in on everything we talked about here. 15 separate approaches, the first 5 with phase 1 touching. So just get any of those in there, 1 or 2 of the phase 1 touchings in there. On the next 5 approaches you're going to do, try to get to the point where you're up to phase 2 touching. Okay, so you can get some of this phase 2 in there. Now, I don't have 5 approaches with phase 3 because it might take a little bit to lead up to that point. That's a little bit more advanced. If you think you're there, go for it. But otherwise, work on this first. 5 approaches with phase 1, 5 approaches with phase 2. And then I want you to do another 5 approaches solely focused on body distance. I really want you to learn this, and the best way is to zoom in on it, focus on it. Okay, focus on getting closer to her in the interaction. Focus on being mirrored with her. Focus on being in front of her where you have that small distance between you. Right? And if you have to go back and look at the other examples of body distance, whether it be casual or social, look at that on here so you can see, but focus on getting to a good point where you're close with her. Do that homework and you'll be ready and set for the next module. I'll see you then.